Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Breadwinner Podcast. It's Caroline, and I am here with yet another great episode giving you practical tools to build your thriving sourdough microbakery. Today, we're diving into a topic that you will encounter without a doubt as a business owner, and that is customer service challenges. It's an inevitable part of dealing with people. So, whether it's someone picking up late outside of your pickup window, whether you need to gracefully say no to a request, whether it's someone requesting a discount or maybe unhappy with what they received. All of these interactions can sometimes feel a little tricky. You might feel a little bit unsure how to respond. And sometimes with the wrong response, it can create an unprofessional image on the customer side. And so we want to avoid that. And this is just a matter of kind of practicing and educating ourselves. So the good news is that you can absolutely grow confident, have clarity, and handle these interactions with kindness. And they get easier and easier with time. Years ago, when I worked kind of my very first grown-up desk job, I was in customer service and I handled phone calls with happy and unhappy customers all day long. My boss had us all read a book called The Customer Service Survival Guide. It's just a little book, an easy read, but it has really, really stuck with me. I still own it and I still sometimes pull it out to refer to it. I learned so much from that job, from that book, from implementing everything that I was learning in that season. And I have used those strategies in countless conversations, both in previous jobs and other businesses, and then, of course, in my microbakery business as well. I really believe that having a solid customer service strategy, really clear policies, and a simple way of communicating them is absolutely necessary if you want to build a business that is successful, that is here to stick around. So by the end of this episode, my goal is for you to have some go-to scripts for common situations and be ready to convey them with confidence and clarity and kindness and professionalism. So to make it easy, I've gone ahead and put it all in a document for you. You can download it for free. There's a link down in the show notes. So you can refer back to this. You can even print it out if you need to and just have kind of a go-to script for handling those common customer service issues. So in this episode, I'm going to break down some of those most frequent issues that might arise and give you just word for word an example of how you can respond. Then you can take my words and tweak them so that they feel natural to you and feel like something you would actually say, but this will get you started. The very first one is probably the thing that comes up the most often for me, and that is late pickup. So you have clear pickup hours for your porch pickups, but then a customer shows up late, or maybe they don't show up at all. What do you do? When this happens, I send them a text, and I have a template in my text platform. I use Project Broadcast to communicate with my customers. It gives me a local area code, and all of my texts just stay right in that app, so they're not texting my personal phone number. Highly recommend. That's the tangent, but if you are looking for a way to communicate back and forth with your customers without using your own phone number or Facebook messaging or Instagram messages, the Project Broadcast investment has been well worth it for me. I'll put a link down in the show notes and you can check it out. I do have a code that'll give you half off of your first month if you want it. I have a couple of scripts that I use for this, and I have them saved as templates in Project Broadcast, so I can just change the name, and I don't have to reinvent the wheel every time I need to have this conversation. But there's a couple of circumstances that come up. The first is someone who specified a certain order window, and several hours have gone by, and they haven't picked up. So my order window is typically from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. If they selected 11, but they haven't picked up by 3 or 4, I'll send them something that sounds like this. Hi, Susie. It's Caroline with the Bluebird Bread Co. Friendly reminder that your order is ready for pickup today before 7 p.m. The address is blah, blah, blah. Thank you. I introduce myself just in case I'm not saved in their phone. I let them know in a friendly, non-confrontational way what time to pick up their order by, and then I let them know the address. They could probably scroll up just a little bit and see the address in their order confirmation, but to keep things easy, I like to just add it into the message. The other thing that often comes up is the pickup window has completely closed and they still haven't picked up. That's more common, and so I will send a message that says, Hello, Susie. It's Caroline with the Bluebird Bread Co. Friendly reminder that your order is ready for pickup. The pickup window is normally from 11 to 6, but I can leave it out for you for another hour this evening or until 8 this evening. I don't love doing that because I go to bed early and we turn off the porch lights at night. So I do say clearly, like, I will leave it out until 8. Usually they'll say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'll come pick it up." The last thing that arises is they can't pick up that night. Or maybe I was away from the house and it's past 7 or 8 and I'm not going to invite them to come pick up that late at night. And in that case, I would say something really similar. "Hello, Susie. It's Caroline with the Bluebird Bread Co. I have your order. I understand life gets crazy and things come up. I'm going to hang on to it for the evening and I'll put it back on the porch tomorrow morning and you can grab it at your convenience." I don't love encouraging that. And if it occurs more than once, if it becomes a pattern with a certain customer, then I'll get a little more clear and say something like, "If these pickup windows really don't work for you, come on out to the market instead. I'm there on opposite Saturdays, and that might work a little better for your schedule." Give them an alternate option without saying, "I'm going to keep bending over backward and changing my policies to accommodate you." If you want to add some more information, you could say something like, "Hi, Susie. I just wanted to check in. Pickup for your order was from 4 to 6. I totally understand that things come up, but since I work on a tight schedule, I ask that pickups happen during the posted window. If you need to reschedule, please let me know by a specific time and I'll see what I can do." It's not promising anything. It's not bending over backward to accommodate them, but giving them some clear and professional boundaries that you're saying you really need them to be able to show up within the policy you've set. Again, if this happens a lot, consider implementing a policy. My order confirmations all say pickup is from 11 to 6. If you have questions, email me at this number. But I do say all unclaimed orders will be forfeited and donated to a cause at the discretion of the Bluebird Bread Co. I have found that that policy has helped a little bit in terms of people not picking up their orders or picking up too late or asking me if they can pick it up the next day. The next customer service conversation that often comes up, and less so the more you go on and say no to these, but it's requests for custom orders that you don't offer. I have an episode all about this if you want to go back and hear all of my thoughts on custom orders. So, episode 32, I share how to decide whether or not to say yes or no to custom orders. So, if that's something that you want to dig deeper in, go jump over to episode 32. So, here's an option for how to handle this. If a customer asks for you to make something that's not on your menu and it's not something that you're able to accommodate, you could say something like, "I so appreciate you thinking of me for this. Right now, I don't offer custom orders." If you explain, it could sound something like, "Because I've found that sticking to my set menu helps keep my baking efficient and predictable. However, I do take flavor requests for future menus, and I'd love to hear what you're craving." You could also point them to another baker who you are aware of in the area who could potentially accommodate them. For example, if they're looking for like a cake and you don't do cakes, send them over to the person who does. Or someone who with specialty cookies, and that's not something in your realm. So this response acknowledges them. It acknowledges their request with warmth. It reinforces your boundaries. It's professional. And it still leaves the door open for future conversation when you're inviting their suggestion for future flavors. This is what I'll do oftentimes if it's not something I can accommodate. I'll say, "I'm going to add that to the list of potential flavors for me to experiment with." The next customer service conversation is a request for a discount. Hopefully, this doesn't come up very often for you. Most bakers probably won't encounter this too often, but especially when you're getting started, this one might come up. If a customer asks you if you can lower your price, maybe they ask for a quantity discount, maybe they're a friend or family and are expecting favors, here's an example of how you could respond. It could sound something like, "I totally understand wanting to get the best deal possible. I put a lot of care into using high quality ingredients and maintaining fair pricing, and that reflects the time and the skill that goes into each bake. While I don't offer discounts, I do announce occasional specials to my email list if you'd like to be the first to know, or text list, or social media followers. You don't have to offer specials. You could just say, my pricing reflects the amount of time, skill, quality ingredients that go into this product. It is homemade, and since it's not made at the scale of a grocery store, I'm not able to price that way. You could offer a kind alternative or just graciously explain the reason why you have set your prices the way they are. But if you do have something like a VIP email list with exclusive deals or first dibs on new flavors, or if you build out a loyalty program or referral program where you give maybe 10% off an order after X number of orders, or a free loaf if they send someone your way, or something like that. That can be a way to give something without offering a discount or lowering your price. The final customer conversation that might arise when customers have a complaint or maybe they were unhappy about their order. Sometimes they reach out to you. Sometimes it's more of a situation like I shared about in my previous episode where your bake is not up to your standard and you need to communicate that to them. So in the first situation where a customer's reaching out to you saying, I don't like this product, or this product was burnt, or this product was whatever, that's a hard one. That's really hard. That is uncomfortable. That feels like a little bit of they're talking about your baby. They're talking about something that is so close and personal to you, this product that you have created with so much love. And it's really, really easy to respond to that defensively. And so that's what we want to avoid. We want to start by leaning in validating them, in being gracious and open, but we do not have to do this in an apologetic way. So this could sound something like a customer says, I ordered this bread this week and I am not happy with it. The bottom is burnt. I've encountered a handful of customers who are used to grocery store bread and they're not used to the harder crust of a sourdough loaf. And so sometimes it's a perception issue and sometimes it's genuinely a quality issue. I experienced this as recently as just a couple of weeks ago. I had a customer text me with a photo of their bread, and I'm going to read verbatim what she said, which didn't feel good, and I will read how I responded. So she said, hello, I am super disappointed. My loaf of sourdough is totally burnt. The bottom is as hard as a rock, and the two sides on top are burnt as well. So she's talking a little bit about my baby here. I had to sit with that. I had to give it a few minutes before I responded, because it's so important that we respond graciously to this sort of conversation rather than defensively. It is so easy to want to defend and say, actually, that's not burnt. That's actually just dark, which is the nature of a traditional sourdough bread. And if you're used to grocery store bread, it's going to look different from what you're used to. That is not the most helpful way to respond. If you are defensive and making her feel like she doesn't know enough or she's wrong. So here's how I responded. I said, hello, I am so sorry you're disappointed. That loaf did bake a bit darker than my breads usually do. I'd be happy to offer a replacement for free at the next market day or my next pre-order. You might prefer my sandwich bread next time. It's baked in a tin, so it'll have a softer crust rather than the traditional thicker crust of a rustic sourdough loaf like this one. And you can use the code. I gave her a code for $10 off your next pre-order. So there were a couple of context clues in her text that told me that maybe she doesn't eat sourdough bread a lot. And that was the reason why I suggested the sandwich bread, which is softer. So when she wrote it, she wrote sourdough in two separate words, which just kind of indicates that maybe it's not a product that she buys frequently. She was just communicating out of frustration. She had received a loaf as a gift from someone else at Christmas time that was a lighter loaf. And so that was what she was basing her experience with my bread off of. She loved that one, that lighter one. And so I did tell her that if she comes on over to the market, she can just grab a loaf and choose for herself because some of them are usually baked a little bit lighter and some a little bit darker. She responded and said, thank you. The loaf I received as a Christmas gift was perfect color and amazing. So I said, I'm glad you love that one. I do aim for consistency as much as possible, but there tends to be some variation as I'm baking in a residential oven. If you pre-order for a market day in the future, you can select your loaf from the ones I have available to choose your preferred coloring. She was gracious and said, I appreciate you getting back to me. She lives a little bit far away, so I'm not sure when I will be able to replace her loaf, but that was the response and she appreciated the way that I handled it. So again, that didn't feel good. I didn't love hearing that she was super disappointed. I can definitely count on one hand the number of times I've heard that from a customer in almost 18 months of business. So it's not a super common thing, but it doesn't feel good regardless. Responding graciously and kindly and professionally is going to go so far. Have you ever had a customer service experience where you were unhappy and you went to the company and you told them what you were unhappy with, and they responded in such a gracious, generous way that you went and you told your friends about it? And you said, "This is what I experienced, this is what they offered." And now maybe you're a loyal, lifelong customer, and maybe you've brought your friends into the fold too. That is one of the benefits of gracious, kind, generous, professional customer service. When you respond to a complaint in a professional way, people are usually so impressed and so likely to go and share that experience with their friends. Even though they came to you initially feeling disappointed or frustrated or let down, you can turn that around completely and create a lifelong loyal customer. Now, to backtrack just a little bit, I'm going to give you another option for a response to a customer complaint to keep it just a little bit more brief than my personal example that I gave. So you could say something like, "I'm so sorry to hear that your order didn't meet your expectations. I always want my customers to love what they receive. Can you tell me a little bit more about what happened? I'd love to make this right." So you're inviting part of the conversation. If they haven't sent a photo already, you might invite a photo just so you can kind of have some context and understand what they're experiencing. You might be able to see, like, that's a perfectly normal product, but maybe they're coming at it from a different perspective and they're not used to sourdough. Or maybe you just genuinely had a quality issue that you missed, and that happens sometimes. And the photo can give you some context and you can respond accordingly, whether that's generously explaining, "This is the nature of the product, and it's a custom homemade product with some very natural variation." Or you could say, "That really didn't meet my standards, and I'm so sorry that slipped through the cracks. I will make it right. I'd love to offer a replacement or a discount or whatever feels right." You don't have to give replacements out left and right, but sometimes that is the proper response. All right, to kind of wrap up this whole conversation here, customer service doesn't have to be stressful. When you approach it with confidence, with clarity, and when you practice it, because as with anything, this is like practicing growing a brand new muscle sometimes. It can feel really uncomfortable, but the more you use it, the more natural it becomes. And so when you approach it with confidence, clarity, kindness, you can navigate almost any situation with ease. Sometimes it just takes a minute to take a breath before you respond. But we'll recap here. So, if you have late pickups, set clear expectations, offer a reasonable reschedule option, and set a clear boundary. If they're not able to reschedule within a certain amount of time, they need to know that that product is now at your discretion and you're going to donate it or gift it or consume it with your family. If you receive a custom order request, express appreciation, hold your boundary, offer an alternative, whether that's pointing them to what's on the menu, whether that's accepting a flavor suggestion, or whether that's pointing them to another local baker who can accommodate their request. Request for a discount, reinforce your value while pointing them to occasional specials. And quality complaints, listen, acknowledge, and offer a solution within your policies. So hopefully your takeaway from this episode is this: you don't have to scramble for the right words in the moment. You can have a bank of ready-to-go scripts that make these conversations smoother and less stressful. If you want to go a little bit deeper on this, a great way to kind of get some customer service scripts that feel natural and helpful to you would be just to go to ChatGPT. Say, "This is what I'm encountering. Can you give me some ideas on how to graciously and professionally respond to this customer?" And then you tweak those words and you make it sound like yourself. But that can get you unstuck, and it can also get you out of responding emotionally and step into responding more logically. If you want these scripts and a few more written out for you, they're all in a free PDF that you can download. Just grab that from the link in the show notes down below. If you've learned something from this episode, if it resonated or was helpful for you, I would love to hear about it. Take a screenshot and tag me. I'm Caroline Bauer _sourdough. Share it on Instagram so I can see where you're listening from. I love to reshare those when I catch them in time. And if you're watching on YouTube, Comment down below if this was helpful or if you learned anything or if you've had a customer service experience, whether you've been on the receiving end or the giving end that went well or maybe not. Tell us about it. As always, if you're not following the show yet, make sure you do that. Hit like or subscribe so you don't miss an episode. They drop every Monday and Thursday, and I will be back soon with another one. But until then, happy baking.